welcome guys to a brand new episode of Nintendo Fanboyz. And I'm soloing it myself today simply because the schedule doesn't match up with Jared and I right now, and he's really enjoying Dragon Quest XI. And I just thought that I'd leave him more time to play the game and more time to record videos for you guys, because I've been really enjoying those videos and he's been really enjoying the game so far, so why not just do it myself? So as a result, this probably won't be that long of a podcast. I don't have a jam-packed episode planned for you guys too. I just wanted to do one and talk about the things that are really passionate for me right now. So I'm not going to mention every news that came out. I'm not going to talk about the just announced Nintendo World Championships and all the little news. I'm just going to talk about a few topics that pertain to me, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So first off, just a bit of house cleaning. As you may know, we released a different podcast every 2 Sundays. So every second Sunday, you'll either see a Fanboyz episode or a Canadian Gamers episode. A Canadian Gamers podcast is mostly our generic podcast, which we talk about all things video games, and sometimes we even include comic books and movies in there, so it's just for fun. And obviously the Fanboyz one is just strictly Nintendo stuff. So usually we alternate between the two, but it seems that now we'll do 2 straight Nintendo Fanboyz because I'm just in the mood to talk about Nintendo stuff. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to go and check Jared's video of the Dragon Quest XI Ultimate unboxing. It's simply amazing what all the stuff that Jared bought from Japan, and I really enjoyed it, even though I know most of what was going to be in that video, but there's really everything is in there. I don't think there's one Dragon Quest XI item he didn't buy. And of course he has the Dragon Quest guides, which should arrive later this month, so be on the lookout for that. And also, hopefully by the time you hear this, the Dragon Quest XI 3DS review is already up on YouTube. If not, it should be up either Monday, Tuesday, or very soon. Jared's almost done with the game. Hopefully he'll stop wasting time and get on with the review already, but you should have it soon enough, and I cannot wait for that. Also, be sure to check all the videos he did. We probably have almost 10 videos up right now about Dragon Quest XI, various impressions and gameplay footage. I don't know why Jared doesn't do this more, because he doesn't have a 3DS capture card, but the way he captures the footage is almost HD-like, so I always enjoy when he does 3DS stuff because he really puts the time and effort into those videos. So I hope he does more, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Alright, now that I got that out of the way, I want to start it up with what I've been playing lately. And as you've guessed, I've been playing mostly, exclusively 3DS stuff. And the first game I played since we last talked was Castlevania Lord of Shadows Mirror of Fate. And there's 2 reasons why I played this. First off, the Castlevania Netflix series was fantastic. Really enjoyed it, already watched it twice, and it really put me into the mood of playing some more Castlevania games. So I was thinking about maybe playing Dracula's Curse, Castlevania 3, and I think I'll do that soon, but for now I just thought I'd play something new. And the other reason is that this is done by Mercury Stream, the guys who are responsible for Metroid Samus Returns, which will soon be available. So I thought I'd check that out. I recall that it did not have some glorious reviews. I remember IGN gave it I think a 4.7 or something like that. But the thing is, I remember that IGN was the guy who reviewed it was Colin Moriarty, who's a huge Castlevania fan, but also one of the guys who hates the 3DS the most. So I think you can read that review with a grain of salt. It's probably a bit on the lower side because of how much he hates the 3DS. But I have to say I was pleasantly surprised with this game. It's not a masterpiece. It's not even close to the classic Castlevania DS and Game Boy Advance games, or even Symphony of the Night for that matter. It's not like that. If you expect that, you'll be disappointed. But I went in there with no expectations, and the first thing I want to say is that the 3D in this game is amazing. I kept hearing about how fantastic the 3D was in Metroid Samus Returns, so I thought I'd turn it on. I had not turned on my 3D in years. I used to play exclusively with this, and this reminded me why I used to do this, because it's so much more immersive when you play with the 3D on, and this game uses the 3D almost perfectly. Like, it's amazing. It makes the game that much better. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. The next thing is the storyline is really entertaining. There's a lot of goofy stuff going around in there, of course, but it's probably one of the most interesting and entertaining Castlevania game I've played in terms of storyline. The next thing, the most disappointing thing for me for the game is the combat. It's not like a Castlevania game. It's more like a God of War game or any kind of beat 'em up. So instead, and usually in Castlevania, the regular enemies, you hit them once or twice and they die, or they hit you and you get a lot of damage. In this game, it's mostly like you need to block and you need to dodge and you need to do combos and whatnot. It's not really Castlevania like, and I guess some people might like it, but for what I heard, most people do not. And I have a trick for this, and I know some purists will not like this, but for me, it was the only way for me to enjoy this game, and it's put it on the easy mode. If you put it on the easy mode, you don't need to worry about the combat. You can just pretty much rush through the enemies, because for me, the combat was not the most enjoyable thing about that game, and I'd rather play the game than just stop playing it altogether. And playing it on easy ensured that I would beat this game, and I have no problem with that. So that's my suggestion to anyone out there who's curious about Mirror of Fate and wants to try it, that if you think the game is too hard or too tedious, because sometimes the regular fights are too long, in my opinion, put it on easy. You won't get any punishment. The endings is the same, and you can still get all the items. So that's my tip for you guys. Put the game on easy and don't worry about the combat. And the rest of the thing, the game plays like a Metroidvania light. What I mean by that is that there is some minor explorations, but if you want to go from point A to point B, the game is extremely linear. You can do that. The game also always points you to where you need to go on the second screen of the 3DS, which, like I always say, that second screen is so underestimated. It's crazy. Like, people that play the 3DS like me will miss it so much when the 3DS stops having games. And you just go from point A to B and then you move on. But there are upgrades and stuff like that allows you to backtrack later on to get the health upgrades and items of that category for you to be a completionist, or to make it a bit easier later on. Because there are some bosses that even on easy mode gave me some trouble and I died a few times. So it's not like this is a piece of cake, but it's still fun to go back to and collect everything, and it's not really hard. So I would think of it as a Metroidvania light. So if I would to put a score on this game, I'd probably give it a solid 7. I really, really enjoyed this, and I think that if you are a 3DS fan or if you're a Castlevania fan, you really need to give this game a chance. Like, it won't blow your mind away, but it's pretty cheap right now on the eShop, so get it and enjoy it. You won't regret it. All right, next up, I've talked about this on the last podcast, but now I've played Miitopia, and I played it for 3 hours, and I can safely say that I think I know what this game is about now, and it's something that if I did not have anything else to play, I would probably play through completion, because it's an enjoyable game. It's really, really fun to play, and it's charming. The biggest problem I have with it right now, it's incredibly repetitive. So for those that don't know, Miitopia is a game where you could use Miis in order to fill up the roles of the characters in your party. You can use Miis for the villains, and you can use Miis for the township people and all that. So it's really fun, and there are a bunch of Miis made available for you. So usually it's celebrities and past Nintendo characters, so it's a lot of fun. Like currently in my party, I have Jared, which is called Elder, and it's funny because he's a pop star and he looks ridiculous. Like it's awesome. I also have my friend Stefan, and I also have Cranberry in there because Cranberry is on my friend list, so I used to have her in my party. And I'll be honest, I have a lot of fun with this game. It's just the problem is that I'm playing also Pokemon right now. I'm back into it. Well, I'm back into it. I never really left it. And I also, when I talk about the topic of the show, which will be Dragon Quest 11, I'm also playing Dragon Quest 11. So I'm finding it a bit hard to take time out of those games and play more Miitopia. But like I said, it's kind of on the repetitive side because the way it goes is you go to a town, and then there's this evil Dark Lord who you can choose and you can design yourself, which I, of course, made into the Dark Lord Jared. So I have Jared in my party, but he's also the bad guy of this game. And what he does is he steals people's faces, and then you need to go and get those faces back. And the way you do that is then you go into those micro levels, and those micro levels are on rails where you walk and your Mii characters will talk, but after a while they simply say the same dialogue you've heard over and over again. And then you'll have usually about two random battles per level, and then sometimes you can find a chest or a mini event will play out, and then it ends with an inn where you can sleep, recover your health. And it's funny because you can your relationship between your Miis can improve. And so basically, if you want them to improve, you need to make them sleep in the same room. And it's funny because at the beginning, I only had Jared in my party, and me and Jared would basically cuddle, and you would see the heart. So we were basically in love. It was really, really, I found it hilarious. So now I have me and Stefan in the same room, and we're like level 10 relationship, and I have Jared and Cranberry in that room, and they're just forming a bond. It's really, really fun to watch. But like I said, the only problem I have is it's repetitive, man. It's like I could see myself playing this and beating it if I didn't have anything else to play. But right now, I'm having trouble motivating myself to go back to it, and that's the problem with me. Once I put a game away, it's really, really rare that I'll pick it back up and continue or restart again. That it happens, but very rarely. So that's my 2 cents on Miitopia. It's well worth a look if you're curious about it. If you just picked up recently a new 2DS XL, that would be a good game to check out if you have the time. But just know that it can be repetitive. All right, and next I'm playing Pokemon. I'm now 233 hours into Pokemon Moon. And the reason I'm really back into it recently is that a friend of mine, a friend who is very, very good at competitive gaming, just started playing Pokemon Moon. And he's at the point now when he's in the post-game stuff and he's breeding Pokemon for competitive use. And we've had a few battles. And it took him about, I'd say, 6 or 7 battles to actually win a battle against me. That's just how natural he is at competitive gaming. Because if you don't know about Pokemon is, even if you've played Pokemon since you were a kid but never played the meta game, like PvP is completely different from the battles you have in game. So you might think you're good at Pokemon, but let me tell you that if you actually played against someone who played competitively, you wouldn't stand a chance. And this guy didn't take him long to actually make it competitive for me. So now I'm actually back into breeding. I'm breeding more Pokemon. We're going to try the VGC soon. So I'm really looking forward to actually have someone who can motivate me and force me to use new strategies and breed new Pokemon. So this will be fun. And he also, my old friend Stefan, who I mentioned from Miitopia earlier, who is the only other guy besides me that used to play Pokemon here. He's also friend with that guy, and now we're all three of us are back into it. And he's also breeding now and actually being competitive. So we're having little boys' night and playing Pokemon like a bunch of nerds every week. So it's really fun. Can't wait to continue along. There's been a bit of Pokemon news lately. Koro have recently leaked a new dust form of Lycanroc. If you can go online and just Google it if you want. The images, I think there's not much difference from this Lycanroc. I think he's a bit more orange than the other guys, but it's not breathtaking news or anything. They also just revealed his ability, but I forgot it. So if it comes back to me while I'm doing that, I will actually get back to it, or let me just Google it real quick. It shouldn't take that long to find. Dust form Lycanroc ability. And let's see right here. And it's popping up. So Tough Claws, that's what I was going for. So this Lycanroc will have Tough Claws, and I believe Tough Claws, what it does is that any attack that makes physical contact will get double the damage. So that's a pretty decent ability. So for those of you looking, I'm hoping they reveal more info on Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon soon, because we have not heard yet, and I'm wondering if they're doing that on purpose, not to take hype away from Pokken Tournament, which will be released in September for the Switch. Maybe they don't want anything out until then. They want to concentrate on hyping up and advertising that game. Maybe that's the case. There's also new Mega Stones available now for Pokemon Sun and Moon. Those are for Diancie, Gardevoir, Gallade, and Lopunny. And you just have to go into Mystery Gift and enter the code POYONG, POYONG, or is it J or is it G? I'm always in French there inverse. That's why reverse. That's why. Anyway, it's the one. I think it's G. Yeah, I think it's G in English. So you enter that and you get the code. Also, sadly, it seems that global missions are now over in Pokemon Sun and Moon. The last one was a success, and Cerebi.net confirmed that it was the last one. So I'm kind of disappointed on that, because I really love that, because they gave you 4,000 free festival coins, which I always enjoy and are very useful in game. So that's pretty much it for Pokemon right now. I cannot wait to get more news. Also remember that Gold and Silver are coming on the 3DS eShop in September, so that's 2 other games. Cannot wait to play, and will be fully compatible with Pokemon Bank. All right, next up some quick news here. Nintendo unveiled the Metroid Samus Returns Special Edition new 3DS XL, and it looks fantastic. And the problem is that I live in Canada, like Jared, and it's very hard to get this stuff here, because Amazon is the best place to do so, but they still don't even have the Metroid 2-pack amiibos up. They've never actually have them up, and so I don't think EB Games or Best Buy has them either. So there's nowhere to buy them online. So I'm gonna rely entirely on Jared to get those. Hopefully he'll go out the day Samus is released and try to pick one for himself and me in Montreal, like he did with those Fire Emblem amiibos that were released in March. Because I really want those. They are the only way to play the fusion mode, which is the extreme hard mode. It was confirmed this week that you can actually unlock hard mode once you beat the game. But hard mode and fusion mode are 2 different modes, and fusion mode is a bit harder than the hard mode, and it's exclusive to the amiibo. So I really want that one. Also, there's a special edition on that game, and that one I was lucky, because I caught it on Amazon probably like in the same hour it was released, and was able to secure one. I actually had a backup plan. I had one on GameSpot or GameStop rather, the American site, but then I canceled that one because it's so ridiculous how much cheaper it is to buy it off Amazon, because not only do you get a discount, but you don't have to pay those import fees that that you always get when you buy something from the US. So that's pretty cool. I really want this special edition new 3DS XL. Really love it. The design is fantastic. And how often do you get a special edition Metroid portable or console? I think this is the first one. I might be wrong, but I think this is the first one. So I really want it. If it ever gets back in stock on Amazon, I think I'll pick it up. But right now it's not there, so that's too bad. That's unfortunate, but I'm not going to go on eBay and pay double the price for this. There's just no way. All right, next up, I want to talk about the Switch a little bit, because I know this is the most popular topic for Nintendo fans anyway, and I've kind of neglected it. I know Jared did a few reviews a few weeks back because he's enjoying his Switch, and that's good for him. For me, for many reasons, I'm just not into the mood right now. I have not played my Switch since May, so that's over 3 months now, and I'm not planning on touching it until Mario Odyssey, which I believe is at the end of October. So right now, I'm such a fan of the 3DS, and I'm such a portable gamer that it's hard to play the Switch for many reasons. The first one, obviously, is that the library is not that impressive right now. Sure, there's a lot of indie games and a lot of third-party cool games right now for it. So if you have only the Switch, of course, you can play games forever on it and not be bored. But for me, I played Zelda a bit on it, and I played Mario Kart, and then I played The Binding of Isaac, and that's pretty much it. I played a bit of Bomberman. I beat Bomberman, and then I played that Puyo Puyo game, and that was about it. Even that Blaster Master Zero, Jared really loved that game. I played it for 2-3 hours and just couldn't continue. I don't know why. But the problem I have is it's not as portable as the 3DS. For me, the 3DS, I put it in my pocket, and then when I go to the bathroom, I can sneak in an extra 15 minutes or 30 minutes of gameplay right there, and nobody notices, even though I think is a bit starting to get suspicious of me. But it's impossible to do that with the Switch. It doesn't fit in the pocket. It's really cumbersome. And the worst thing is, when you want to play it plugged in, the plug is actually on the bottom of the system. And I know they did that because when you dock the Switch, you need to dock it from the bottom. So it could not work from the top. But it just makes it, it's not really, it's cumbersome. Have you ever tried it to play your Switch plugged in and sitting down? The plug should be on the top, like the 3DS. That's how it was always made to be, and it just doesn't work for me. So it's weird. And even like, I have a PlayStation 4 plugged in my TV. I use it mainly for Netflix now that Soka is born, my second son, and I just have not had a chance to actually play a game besides a few sessions of Rocket League here and there. And my PlayStation 4 is not pretty. Like, there's yogurt on there, there's water on there, there's tons of marks because it's in Elliot's reach, and the way we're set up right now, it won't go anywhere out of his reach anytime soon. So I did that with the Switch a bit. I had the dock there just available so I could play it in dock mode. And then I found out that there was some water in the dock, and I removed the dock there. Hopefully the water stains will go away or have gone away or not permanent, because I don't want to put my Switch in the dock and for it to explode or anything. But it's just it's not made for me right now with my two sons. One is 2.5, the other one is 4 months, and they just, everything they see they want to touch. And the other one will start walking not soon, but in about 5 or 6 months, and he'll be the same way. He'll want to touch everything, so you have to be careful. And that's why I prefer my 3DS, where I can hide it and I can play it. I can play it every time. It's just perfect for me, and frankly, it's my favorite console or portable ever. I believe it has the best library out there, and I don't care what people say. For me, it's my favorite system ever, and I'm thinking one day of doing like some kind of buyer's guide, some kind of like a top 15 for the 3DS, and talking about the games that were maybe not in top 15 but were sleeper hits or gems, hidden gems, or even talking about the games that were disappointments and whatnot. I really wanted to do a series of video on that system, and even one on the Wii U. Eventually, I've been wanting to do top 10 Wii U games for a while now, because since Zelda was the last major game for it, there's nothing ever coming out for this system besides Just Dance, I believe, and stuff like that. So I need to do a top 10 eventually. And speaking of the 3DS, this is the biggest, what grinds my gears the most right now online, is that I'm sick of tired of people complaining every time a new game is announced for the 3DS. Like, it annoys me. It really grinds me. Like, I can't. It happens all the time, and it's always from people who had a 3DS but barely touched it, and now all of a sudden, with the Switch, are back into Nintendo, and that's cool. That's perfectly fine. And they would want Nintendo to abandon us, like the 3DS faithful. Like, I have a Switch too, but I prefer my 3DS. Does that mean that Nintendo should completely abandon the 60 million plus? Like, it's almost at 70 million now user base for that system. Like, it's just stupid. Like, the Switch has a great lineup for the rest of the year, and the 3DS does have too. So why can't both be? Why can't Nintendo support both? And the thing is that Metroid Samus Returns is a perfect example of that. Like, I believe there's a slight chance that it will come to the Switch at one point, and that's good. Like, I want it to come to the Switch. Why not? More sales. The thing is, if it ever does, I hope the reviewers and the people notice and at least mention that the superior version will be the 3DS one. I don't care if it will have prettier visuals. Like, the 3DS has a second screen that's made for Metroidvania games. So hopefully they'll at least mention that, because the Switch, I would love it to be on the Switch eventually too, for to get a bit more, for more people to play it, obviously. But like, this game was made for the 3DS. I just don't get this, and I'll stop there, because I'm getting a bit frustrating just thinking about that. All right, now for the topic of the show, which is Dragon Quest XI. So I'll give you my Dragon Quest XI review or impressions or early thoughts, whatever you want to call it. I'm 9 hours in so far, so obviously I still have like 50, 60 hours to go to beat it. But I think 9 hours in is a pretty good, I can safely give you a pretty good impression on this game and what it's like and what it's not like. And of course, Jared will do a way better job of me when he's going to post his official review soon enough. First thing first though, this game is 100% Japanese. It's incredibly hard for me to play this game. Like, I used to import games back in the day, and the closest I've ever come to this obstacle, it was with the Fire Emblem Path of Radiance one, the GameCube Fire Emblem, which I believe was called Trail of the Blue Blaze or something like that, Blue Flame in Japan. I imported that back in the day and actually was able to beat that. But the thing with the Fire Emblem is that even though everything was in Japanese, you don't need to worry about where you need to go. You only need to memorize the menus, and there's not that much. There's maybe an enemy, a unit has like maybe 3 or 4 spells, that's about it, and a few different weapons. There's not much. With this game, not only do you have to worry about where you need to go, and sometimes like you need to go back to a village, go into a specific building and talk to someone in order to trigger an event, and I just have no idea, no way to know unless I go to a site or I ask Jared, which is what I've been doing right now, and it's been working so far. Because like Jared, the thing is, he won't admit is that he can read Japanese. He cannot read it 100%. Maybe he can read about, I'd say 30 to 40% of it. He reads the keywords, but it's just enough for him to be able to make some progress and for him to have a clue what the attack or the magic spell or the skill does. And for me, that's the problem, is that if you've played the Dragon Quest games, you know that by 20 or 30 hours in, your character has pages and pages of not just spells but skills, and all of those spells and skills do have a different purpose. And of course, you'll have a fire attack that's one you have 3 stages of the same attack. First one being the weakest and the third one being the most powerful. Of course, that I will be able to figure out. But all these other magic spells and skills, like I'm already overwhelmed, and I only have 4 characters in my party, so I can't imagine once I have all of them, which I believe is 8. You don't have all of them in your party at the same time, but you switch around, and they all have different spells and different skills. And what I've been doing so far is I've tried them all, and even then, when I try a spell or a skill, I still sometimes don't know what it does. And that's it's especially when the spells either lowers an enemy's stat or heals, like maybe I think I have a girl who can heal me when I'm poisoned or something like that, but I'm not sure if that's the case. I know that the magic is a status effect and it affects my party, so I know it must be beneficial in some way. So it's something I hope I can get to and memorize a bit better. Like I don't need to memorize it perfectly. And even in Dragon Quest 7 and in Dragon Quest 8, like even though you had like 15 different spells and 20 different skills, I only use maybe 5 of them each. So it's once I get to know which ones I want to use the most. Like it's not going to be the end of the world. Like I do not expect to master this game. I just hope to be able to get through it and play most of it and hopefully beat it. That would be my goal right now. But the language barrier is huge because unlike Jared, like I'm going in blind and 100% blind. Like I cannot recognize one single character, and that's the issue right now. But still, it's really fun to be able to play Dragon Quest 11 on my 3DS in 2017, because I don't think this game will ever see the light of day on the 3DS. Jared thinks it will. Maybe it will. I hope. This is one of the situations where I really hope I'm wrong, and if I am wrong, I'll be happy for Jared to throw it in my face. Like I really want to. I know this is coming for the PlayStation 4. Sony has already confirmed it. The problem I have is that Dragon Quest 7 and 8 in North America were published by Nintendo. And Nintendo's never going to publish 11 unless they switch the game a bit, because there's a mode in there that allows you to transfer your data to the PlayStation 4 version. I mean, it's not a direct transfer, but it's with a password system. And I really doubt Nintendo would be comfortable publishing a game that has this feature in there. And of course, there's always the chance that Square Enix publishes this here. They did publish Dragon Quest 9 here, I believe, while Nintendo published 4, 5, and 6 on the DS. So maybe they will have a similar scenario here. But it's just that and let's be honest, Dragon Quest 7 and 8 on the 3DS underperformed. Like they did not sell well. I think maybe 7 reached 70k, maybe 100 at the max. And that's not that bad for any other game, but it's just because with this game, there's so much work needed to be done with the translations. And that's not to mention if they do the same thing they did with Dragon Quest 8 and they decide to add voice acting to this game. Like it's going to be hard. And of course, if they translate Dragon Quest 11 on the PS4, like they can probably copy paste it to the 3DS, but I think it might be a bit more complicated than that. But we'll see. Hopefully they'll do it. I really wanted to do that because the 3DS version is kick-ass. Like it has some really neat exclusive features, like that you can play the game in 3D or in 2D. And right now I'm playing in 3D because like the visuals are awesome. But I really, really love, because the first 2 or 3 hours of the game, the top screen is 3D and the bottom screen is 2D. And I really loved having that mode. I wish I could have played the entire game like that, but actually the second screen is really useful when you navigate stuff, because for me, like I said, I don't read Japanese, but sometimes there's images in there that allows you, especially when you equip stuff, that's a lifesaver. So I think I'm going to switch to 2D mode at some point just to play a bit, because I really loved it. It feels like a Super NES RPG when you play that one. I I've mentioned that the visuals are awesome. I also want to talk about the alchemy pot, which I think it's not actually called the alchemy pot. It's more of a blacksmithing thing, but whatever. I'll call it the alchemy pot. That thing is really fun to use. Like every time you go to a campsite, and that's another thing about Dragon Quest XI is you can save at way more areas now than you could in past DQs. You don't need to go to a church in a town to save. There's other ways to save, and one of those is a camp. And those are pretty fun. You find those usually in the wild, and you can buy stuff from a merchant, and you can heal your HP, I believe, by sleeping. There's a bunch of other options when you stand in front of the fire, but I believe they're just shortcuts to the statue to save and the merchant and the alchemy pot. But I could be wrong. And then there's the alchemy pot where you can create new weapons and new armor. And I'm not actually 100% sure how I find the recipes that I find. I know Jared mentioned to me that it's by reading the bookcases, which is something that was always there in past Dragon Quest games, so I'm not surprised, but I'm not sure if that's the only way to find recipes. But if it is, kudos, now I know. Probably if you guys know, and Jared can answer in the comments below. But I've been really having fun using that. I still not sure how to properly forge the weapons when you create them, because there's a mini game where you need to forge each area, and I think you get bonus stats points if you do it well and stuff like that. I'm not actually sure. I think I'm gonna try to force to ask Jared to do a separate video on that, because that would be really useful for me and probably useful for other North American players who are not 100% certain on how to use some of Dragon Quest XI's features because of the language barrier. So maybe I'll be able to convince him to do that. Besides that, there's also these little cute blob creatures, and I don't remember their name. I think they're called Itchy, or the village is called Itchy or something like that. And it's really fun because these little guys allow you to go into these kind of simplistic missions where you go left and right, you collect treasures, stuff like that, and you fight little enemies. But what's rewarding about that is that once you complete these missions, you unlock old school Dragon Quest missions. So I did the first one, which was for Dragon Quest 1, and it was really fun. And it's actually funny because it's the only time I've died so far, and it was fighting this the final boss of that mission. And when I told Jared that I died there, he was being an ass and telling me that it's really easy. And it's not hard. It's not a hard boss. Like, I went there again after and kicked his ass. But the problem is I just before the boss, I had used my focus attack by accident. I don't know why I did that. And then at the boss, the boss keeps summoning these two little enemies besides him. And one of those enemies, I believe is the left one, it has a move that can incapacitate you or something like that. It makes that you cannot move or use an action for one turn. So you're basically left there and you take an attack. And that's what's happened to me. But the thing is, I knew that and I wanted to kill that first. But when I select attack, there's three enemies. There's the boss and there's the two random enemies. The other one to the right is, I think, a red slime. And I thought I was targeting the enemy to the left, but I was actually targeting the enemy to the right. It's just the way that those were positioned, because it's in 2D mode when you do those, and it's not the same as in 3D. So I got confused and I did not target the right enemy, and then both my characters got basically could not move, and one of them died, and it was the only one who had an HP spell, who could recover health. So then eventually my other guy, which I think is called Camus, died pretty quickly after that. But then I went right back into that and I beat the boss, and that was pretty cool, because that boss is not really amazing, because just after that you see that boss actually in the wild as a regular enemy. So I thought that was really fun. I cannot wait to get more Dragon Quest Classic missions. Hopefully I'll find more blobs. I only found 2 more so far in the wild, and both were, I believe one was an F and one was an E. So Jared told me that only the D and above mattered. So I wasn't lucky and didn't get anything good. So hopefully I'll get some better blobs in the future to help me in those quests. So yeah, that's pretty much it so far. Jared actually made a guide for me, and I'm actually past it, and right now I'm just going blind. I'm just exploring, I'm grinding, getting some gold to equip the two new girls that I have in my party right now because they're super weak. And that's it. I'm gonna go. I think I saw a cave or something. And one thing I want to mention before I finish this topic is that the dungeons so far are incredible. And that was one of my requests for Jared, was for him to do a let's play video on the dungeons, and he did. But unfortunately, he picked a dungeon that wasn't that interesting. But there are some that are really fun, where you can kill a monster and then that monster stays on the screen, and you can mount him, and then you can climb walls and do various puzzle stuff. It's really fun. Like, I really can't wait to... Dungeons are always my favorite thing in most RPGs because I'm a huge dungeon crawler fan, and I can't wait to play more. So far, Dragon Quest XI, very, very positive reactions for me to the game. Like I said, I don't know much what's going on. Even the story, like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, none. And it's funny. So I hope that one point I get to play the 3DS version in English. Jared promised me that he was going to send me the 3DS version, the physical one, and the PlayStation version, because he has two of both. If you saw the video, you'll know why. Hopefully he keeps his word, because you never know with that guy. And if he does, once I get the PS4 version, I want to try it on, because I saw some footage on it and it just looks amazing. And the best thing about it is that they're not kidding. This is the exact same game. So all the locations that I saw in the PlayStation 4 footage reminded me of the Dragon Quest, the 3DS game, because they're exact same place. They're just in HD and very, very pretty. So it will be a nostalgia trip to go back to that game with those visuals. So I cannot wait to receive it. And that's pretty much what I have to say about Dragon Quest XI. Really enjoy it. If you guys are curious to play it, you can always import it on the PlayStation 4. It's region free, and on the 3DS you would need a Japanese 3DS, but those are not that expensive. If you go on eBay and you try to get a used one, maybe not a new 3DS, but maybe just an old 3DS, you can probably find one for like $50 or something. So that might be worth a shot, because like I said, if this ever comes to 3DS here, it won't be until like late 2018. So it might be worth a shot if you're a huge Dragon Quest fan to import this. So that's pretty much it for this podcast, guys. And like we always do in Fanboyz, I'm going to end this with the blast from the past. But first, I just want to remind you guys that this podcast of ours, it goes on YouTube every second Sunday. You'll get either a Fanboyz or a Canadian Gamers. But if you want just the audio portion of this, you can subscribe to us on iTunes or Google Play or whatever podcast service you use. I don't actually use Google Play. What I use is called Castbox for my Android, and that works too. So pretty much any podcast service in the world will have this podcast. You just need to search for either Fanboyz with a Z or Canadian Gamers, but I think if you also search for Project COE, you'll find us. So be sure to go on there, and if you want, leave us a review. That's always appreciated. And also rate these videos and share it with your friends, leave comments and all that good stuff. It's always fun to participate and interact with you guys. That's what I enjoyed the most, especially in the comment section. All right, the blast from the past for me this week. I thought I'd keep it with the Dragon Quest, but I went with a more obscure Dragon Quest title. And this is the Dragon Quest title for the Wii that I actually really, really enjoyed back in the day, which was called Dragon Quest Swords, The Masked Queen, and the Tower of Mirrors. And if you go to the archive section of our projectcoe.com, of our blog, you'll see that I actually reviewed that game back in the day, and I had a blast. It's actually an on-rails RPG, and you use the Wiimote and the nunchuck. The Wiimote is used as your sword, and the nunchuck is used as your shield. So it's really simple game, but there's a lot of strategy into it, and I thought that at the time the motion controls were pretty good, and you get all your Dragon Quest enemies in there. There's classic RPG elements. You need to level up, you need to buy more gear and stuff like that, and it's a really fun game. And I even believe that after you beat the final boss, there's some post-game content, and like other Dragon Quest game, the post-game bosses are harder. So it's really fun game if you're a Dragon Quest fan, and even if you aren't, it's really fun, simple game for the Wii that I really enjoyed back in the day, and that I would recommend to anybody. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for tuning in or watching us on YouTube or whatever the case may be. Had a blast doing this, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.